Welcome to Conversations with Cheryl Weston, and I'm really pretty excited about tonight's program. I have some young uh, men and women who are going to be joining me about one of the favorite topics, and that's politics, politics, politics. And we're really going to be talking about local politics, which has been my 2025 mandate, is politics, politics locally. We've made it through all the big to do. And so, we're all excited about being able to bring forth about the local elections and how important it is because the local elections are the ones that make the difference in our everyday lives. Every day. They make the decisions on the streets we drive, the taxes we pay, the places we build, the housing. So it's very important to us each and every day. And I have three young people that I'm really excited about introducing to you. And we're just waiting for one more to enter, and we will begin our program. And just one second. There we go. Now we're okay. All right. So I have my two young people and one Jaden and who is under the weather today. And so we will begin with him. And I'm going to kind of give you an introduction, if you would, and introduce who Jaden is. And if you would introduce yourself and how this got started and why. So I'll let you go first. Olivia.
Of course. I'll start with how this got started and why, because I think that's a really important question. And I want to make sure that we're highlighting all the people in the community who helped us young people make this a thing. So, Sherman Wells, a well-known grassroots organizer within the Omaha area,
Mhm.
um, has been my mentor for quite some time now. And I think Jada maybe can speak to that as well. He reached out to us in hopes that the bridging of the generations kind of would be able to occur from an
Mhm.
event such as this. So that's kind of how we became a part of it. I'll start also with a brief introduction of our other moderator who cannot be with us today, as you've mentioned, because he's ill. And
Yes.
his name is Jaden Perkins. He is an Omaha native and an accomplished grassroots activist and political consultant with over a decade of skills in advocating on the front lines for reproductive justice, police accountability, universal health care, mutual aid, and criminal justice reform by any means necessary. In addition, he has over 5 years of professional experience in building community, political campaign movements, and civic mobilization or engagement, as well as public policy. So he is certainly our expert on policy throughout this process and has been super beneficial.
Mhm.
Sorry for the long go for
No,
introductions.
that's good. That wasn't too long because I would have cut you off if you hadn't been.
Oh, I'm not
That
done
was
yet. I
good.
still gotta do me, but I appreciate knowing that because I do tend to yap. But my name is Olivia Ann Matthews.
Uh-huh.
I am currently a full-time student at the University of Nebraska Omaha studying interdisciplinary studies with concentrations in women and gender studies and Black studies. I'm a Marion 2020 grad, row cruises, and a former OPS student as well. Currently, I work at Central High as a special education paraprofessional and am involved in quite a few grassroots happenings within town. I don't necessarily align myself within a specific organization, but I do try to bounce around and get my foot in every pot that I can in order to affect the broadest change. So that's a bit about me.
All right. And Jada?
Mine is not gonna be that long because, as you know, I'm still young and have much more life to go. But
Oh, okay. So you were old, Olivia, and now she's
no,
saying she's much young. Okay.
no,
Wow. This is
no. Okay, I'm Jada Lee. I am 11th grader at Omaha Central.
go Eagles, go. We
Go
score.
Eagles,
All
yes.
right.
I aspire to be a criminal justice attorney because there's a big need for those. And
Mhm.
yeah, I graduated in 2026, and I'm not sure where I'm gonna go to college, but yeah, that's a
The
little bit
thing
of
is,
me.
what I used to tell the kids is it's not, let's say, well, I'm not sure where I'm, that's not the point.
Yeah.
You're going to college. It's
Hmm.
just where. So it's kind of like you're going. So, well, that's great. You made a statement there, and when you said because there is a need for the criminal justice. And it's
Hmm.
really kind of sad and unfortunate because there is a great need for criminal justice representation among the Black and Brown people.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I said because and that's sad, is because we are the ones that need it the most because we are so how to say disproportionately criminalized. And so it's really important. I know, and you're going to graduate and you're going to do it without DEI. You're just going to do it. So we're going to move on to a couple of things. And I don't know if you had slides you wanted to share with us or not, Olivia, or if that'll be fine. You can go ahead and share your screen. It should
Okay.
work, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. Just give me 1 second. So, send request. To preview, the slides that we're sharing today have also been shared on social media. So
Mhm.
you can find those online too, and not just in this Zoom if you want to take screenshots or read more thoroughly. And essentially, this is just our event overview. Can you see at this point in time?
I'm not seeing your screen, but I did give you permission to
Okay,
share it.
let's try this. Thanks for
There
bearing
you
with me.
go.
Don't look at my desktop. Don't look at my desktop. It's really bad. Um,
It's up now.
but we're working on it. Sorry, it looks like the Wi-Fi is being a little iffy. There we go.
Yep.
Um, So the goal behind, maybe if they're loading, the goal behind these graphics was, as it states, to provide knowledge to constituents, considering we believe the information that goes behind this event and the information that constituents are going to receive at this event to be liberation information,
Mhm.
meaning that having this knowledge can empower constituents to take the information that they learned from our event to the polls and make an informed decision come the primary, which is on, oh my God, why am I
April
blanking?
1st.
April 1st. Thank you.
I always laugh at it because this year, April 1st, and it's like, April 1st? Is that a Fool's Day joke?
Right, right.
Um, could you go back up to your seconds? Could you go up to your first slide? Because
Absolutely.
there was one that's I think is very important. It's a debate for District 2 to see who will be the voice of the people for District 2. And you're going to get in a little farther on the slides because I've already seen them. Is that, I think people need to realize, because I keep pushing and pushing, it is so important for you to be out for this election. This is your opportunity as the people to have a voice in who will make the decisions for you and about you, what's going to happen to you, your family, your children, your loved ones, friends. So I really like the ideal that it is to encourage people to exercise their voice. And your voice is your power. And collectively together, you have power. So if you want to move ahead, and I'm
Yeah,
probably
absolutely.
going
That
to
was
jump in
beautifully
here
said.
every once in a while because I think you've got some important information on your slide that I would like to point out to people.
Okay, well, lovely. That was beautifully said. I cannot emphasize that enough or agree enough. So, yeah. Our next slide kind of deals with just about what is the Omaha City Council, because I know even before I accepted this position as moderator that I certainly had questions and needed to
Mhm.
better inform myself in order to understand what I was talking about. So this just kind of gives a very, very brief overview of the Omaha Charter, the Mayor Council Charter, which is what Omaha operates under, which was created in 1956 and named the Home Rule Charter. And the
Mhm.
form includes a mayor who is currently Jane Stothard and serves as the chief executive officer. The board also has a seven-member legislative body that's elected to four-year terms. And I actually have the names of those folks right here. Peterson, Juanita Johnson, who's currently our district in District 2. Danny Begley, Ron Hug, Don Rowe, Brinker Harding, and Amy Melton. Um, and just so everyone's aware, the District 2 seat is what's up for grabs right now, if we haven't made that abundantly clear thus far. So that's a bit
Can you go
about
back to that one for just a minute? Because
absolutely, absolutely.
here's some history on that. For folks, some who might be new and some who aren't and have been in District 2, one of the things this is really important, again, I guess, to point out is um, it was only underneath the leadership of Senator Ernie Chambers who made district uh, voting possible. We used to be at large, and so you could have lived anywhere and run for office there when it's at large. And he was able to get that passed to have district voting, which enabled to, and what he was looking to do is to give the people within the boundaries of that district, each district, the boundaries, you would be able to be represented from there by someone from that particular district who was a registered voter. And the other thing that's important to remember, as she pointed out here, the form, the mayor is the chief executive officer, and the city council is the legislative body. And the current mayor says she is a strong mayor, and she operates that way, but we won't go into that. So anyway, my point here is to stress, like you say, you're trying to educate people so they know how this came about, why it is, and the form. So that District 2, you must be a registered voter in order to run. And I think she has a couple of slides in there that she's probably going to get into that. But I did want to give the history, how we got to district elections.
Absolutely. And I want to make sure to mention quickly too, now that you bring up the fact of being a registered voter. In
Mhm.
order to be a registered voter, you or to vote day of, you need an ID, that whether it be that like a state driver's license, or a MAV card or your school card, that is an acceptable form
Mhm.
of verification. However, if you don't have either of those, you can go to your local, I believe it is the DMV, to get
Mhm.
a voter's registration, and
Right.
they'll get print off a little ID for you that you can take to the polls as well. Because that is not mentioned in these specific slides, but I wanted to make sure that that was brought up because that's a very important topic to touch. So one of the reasons we included this in our slide is because oftentimes when you're reading policy or when you're reading government lingo, at least it is this way for me when I'm reading it, I have questions about what does this actually mean? And so that is why we included this slide, because I feel like layman's terms aren't necessarily appreciated
Mhm.
in um, government documents that are going out to the public. On the left is all of the tasks as described in the charter as to what the city council can do through their operations, which is passing and amending or repealing local ordinances. That just means creating new laws, changing existing ones, and eliminating outdated ones. This is important because change cannot be enacted if there's no law there, right?
Right.
So that first and foremost is a big push behind local government enaction of change that is important to city council. They can also adopt budgets, which just means deciding how much money goes where. Things that this budget contributes to can be anything through public funding like police, fire, schools, public parks, infrastructure, those sorts of things. And when we say infrastructure, we mean roads per
Mhm.
se. For example, in North Omaha, there's lots of potholes and there's not as many sidewalks, which is dangerous for commuters. And so those are the sorts of things we mean when we use words like infrastructure, is just how people get around and get from point A to point B and how those structures are put in place.
Which backs up again. And so I'm going to reiterate 1,000 times if I could, but I won't take 1,000. But again, that's how important this is because this is your funding. This goes to those services, schools, public parks, the infrastructure. That's why it's important for you to vote, to get registered and vote, and not just register. but go and vote.
Jada, do you want to explain the last three?
Um, Not really, but I can. Okay, so
Okay, I was just trying to be inclusive. I'm sorry, I was talking a lot. I didn't want to
no,
leave you out.
no, you can.
Okay. I'm gonna turn on a light really quick because it's getting dark and I know this is gonna be edited and recorded sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so confirming appointments just means approving leaders like the police chief, city attorney, and Omaha Housing Authority board members, which I specifically included because they have been under a lot of scrutiny lately for the things that they're subjecting their tenants to that's absolutely like deplorable. And you as a voter have the say, the chance through your vote to either re-elect these officials or have someone else take their place, which is why what Michelle was saying earlier about having district representatives on these boards so important. Commissioning independent audits just refers to reviewing city finances and ensuring transparency and the proper use of funds. So it monitors the misuse of taxpayer money. So, for example, the PACE program that was operated by a couple of Omaha Police Department individuals, which was technically a government owned operating system, meaning that they took funds from the community to give to youth for their baseball program.
Mhm.
And they were using those funds to fund drug habits or drug habits for prostitutes that they were utilizing or pay using these monies to go on vacations and those sorts of things. So commissioning independent audits is kind of the tracker that says, wait, hold on, something's wrong here, and make sure that the city finances are only being used on city happenings. Making sure city operations align with the charter. This just means that the city is following the home charter rules and is running ethically. I will say that I don't know all of the rules of the home charter just right off the top of my head, but if you go to the city council website, it is detailed there with the government jargon, not in layman's terms. So if you need help understanding that, utilize AI, insert the document into ChatGPT, and they can simplify it for you to understand those sorts of things. And also reach out to your community members if you still have more questions over what does city council do, because they'll tell you. That's how I've learned all of this. Jaden Perkins, I know he's not here today, but I've had so many questions throughout this process. I'm sure he's been tired of me yapping, asking, but like great example of using resources to get to where you need to go. So
That's
that's
true.
what I can
That's
do.
very true. Very true.
Um, Next, we included information about how you can voice your opinion through the city council, because I think a lot of people, and I certainly have been people at certain points in time when I'm, having lapses in faith or lapses in hope of humanity, especially during current tumultuous times within, our American democracy and government. People are always like, well, what does my vote do? You always say it has a voice. How can I wield it? How can I make that happen? You can voice your opinion through public hearings. They are held every ordinance, which is just a fancy word for a piece of legislation enacted by a grouped authority, in this case, which is city council,
Mhm.
or resolution on the agenda council agenda. Agenda, sorry. You can share your support or concerns. You can testify either online or in person, as there's links to do both. And this way you can bring your concerns and your lived experiences to the attention of your community and your city council members. And as we mentioned earlier, collective voices are very hard to overlook.
Mhm.
And if you're experiencing any doubt about whether your voice matters in these sorts of situations, I was just up at the Capitol today, listening to hearings regarding housing and those sorts of things. And the first thing the senators said when they were presenting their bills, senators like Terrell McKinney, like Kavanaugh's, both of them, and Megan Hunt, the first thing that they testify to before introducing their bill is what their constituents have written to them. And it
Mhm.
was really, really cool to see, although although the Judiciary Committee obviously is different than City Council and in a different spot of Nebraska. The process is the same, where
Mhm.
you can bring something to the table, have someone actually listen, and then they'll say, okay, this is what we can do about it, even if it's not passed or not. They meet, the city council, as in they, meet every Tuesday at 2 p.m. in the legislative chambers, which is downtown on the second level of the Omaha and Douglas Civic Center. The address is on there, as you see, 1819 Farnham Street. And as previously mentioned, virtual attendance is also available. And you can find that link on the city council website. So that's a great way to stay engaged, understand how your government works, and advocate for the change you want to see within those
I
settings.
will interject one thing there on your virtual attendance. There are certain stipulations on when you can use the virtual attendance. I don't
Okay.
agree with it. I think it should be virtual attendance all the way, but and hopefully maybe they'll get in and look at changing that. But there are some restrictions on how and when you can use the virtual attendance.
And I appreciate that interjection as well. And that I would like to say is a great example of why these different generations need to be collaborating, because there are things I'm trying to learn about that I don't know. And like Miss Weston just showed, you can give that information without me feeling, attacked or any type of way. And yeah, I just think that those kinds of moments are important to highlight. So, I'd like to apologize for anyone watching who has seen this specific slide on social media, because this number, that 10 right there, has changed so many times. So let's get into it. Why is District 2 specifically hosting a city council candidate debate? There are 10 candidates,
Mhm.
10 candidates for this one district. A debate is crucial because it being District 2 represents one of Omaha's most diverse areas, encompassing communities with unique challenges, lived experiences, and opportunities. This includes historically redlined and disinvested communities like North Omaha, which is home to African American, Native, Hispanic, Asian, and immigrant populations, and more. The district also intersects with severe poverty, homelessness, and middle to upper class. All of these communities operate within a very close proximity and have virtually little to no understanding of each other and virtually little to no cohesiveness when it comes to approaching issues that affect our representative district. A debate, therefore, would provide a platform to address these disparities and ensure underrepresented voices are heard in city governance. Furthermore, for the constituent, it provides a platform to discuss issues that are critical to our district, like housing, economic development, safety and infrastructure, as we mentioned earlier, the renting crisis, health, you name it. It's all going to be talked about come March 5th. So
Let me ask you a question. Um, what do you think about the ideal of so many candidates?
I think it's
Being young and I definitely want to get your opinion, Jada. You're gonna have to talk this time. Is what's your opinion of having so many candidates?
I think it's unfortunate. Speaking from the perspective of a young person, it's certainly been confusing when trying to obtain information, and even when a little embarrassing when community members has asked me when hosting an event like this, like, oh, who's running? This is even just a couple days ago, and I'm like, I don't know, Um, and I really think this many candidates, if I can speak candidly, speaks to a personal race instead of a community oriented race at a time where unification is so important, because the world and the chaos, the organized chaos, I should say, that's
Hmm.
being distributed through media right now and just throughout our day-to-day lives is to divide. And so to ask your district to have to pick between that many candidates. Granted, we only three specifically are on the ballot right now, and we will get into that a bit later. But to put all of this confusion and excitement on a district that's hurting, on a district that's tired, on a district that is really frustrated in terms of wanting to be represented or being misrepresented when that representation is there. It's frustrating as a citizen, not as a moderator, to see that there are so many choices to choose from because it makes it hard.
Jada?
Yeah. Um, it's honestly quite interesting because it's like, why is there so many candidates and what are your pure intentions behind running? It's like, what exactly are you running for? Are you running for the name of it, or are you running because you genuinely want to help? So for me, as Olivia said, it's quite confusing because 10, like that's a lot of people, and it's like I couldn't even tell you what half of them are trying to do. So it's just like I just don't understand it really. Like as a young person, like trying to understand the system as it already being confusing, just like adds like more
Mhm.
confusion to it. So that's how I feel about it personally.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because, people have been contacting, talking with me, is, we got all these candidates running. But I think you two young ladies brought out several points that I would like. There are 10 candidates at this time. Now, all 10 candidates have not certified and by or being have been validated with 100 signatures. I was very, when this first started, I was like, oh my God, here we go. Because on this hand, you had people saying, we got to get behind just a person. And then on this hand, I looked at it as saying, but why not? Because in your slide, and as you mentioned, it's what? A diverse population. If the point of this was to have your voice heard and your opportunity, maybe your voice isn't the same voice that would be behind the voice that I would want.
Mhm.
So I thought about it and I looked and I said, you know what? This is the first time I believe we've had this many. We did have one time there was, well, it started out with, I think, nine. And I think, no, there was one time it started out with 11, but it went down. Um, I look at it as competition.
Mm.
Why not? Any other organization, if you think about it, I use this. You have, I said you have a president who started out 18 and he whittled it right on down to be who? The number one. So why is it that people want to say District 2, this is too many? You brought out a very good point, Olivia, that maybe when this time when everything is it's so confused, is this a way to divide us? But Jada, you brought out, why are you running? And that's where I have a real problem because many, I feel, some of the individuals are not running for the right reason. And they've shown that by their behavior in getting to this point. Because as you know, I put out yesterday, or yeah, yesterday, the number of people who had requested and said they were running, but if they couldn't follow through with the process of getting on a senior, what does that say? You have been running all around town, showing up at events that you never attended in 4 years, and now you want to represent us, District 2. So why are you running? Because Jada, and maybe that question, and I'll be interesting if that question is brought out at the debate. Why are you running? They all have these flowery, oh my God, I'm so tired of the pillars. That's the new buzzword is pillars. I've got the pillars of this. No, pillars. But my point to get back to, this is a very important slide. If you read it and think about it and listen to the discussion that both of you brought out for District 2. So I'm looking at it like, hey, this is competition. Competition usually makes you better, but will it make it better for the right reason? So I'll let you go on.
Thank you for that dissertation. I appreciated that. So this list has been updated on a different graphic. So I'm just going to scroll past this one because this
Mhm.
was prior to more constituents or candidates announcing their candidacy. How you can participate in the debate, which is the most important message that I believe we as moderators want to get across today, is to attend the debate. Either in person or virtually. It's gonna be streamed live on Facebook as well for that option of folks who kind of want to stay from the comfort of their own homes. It's
Mhm.
encouraged. We are also working on an online link that we will put on our Facebook page, which is titled Debate for District 2, Who Will Be a Voice of the People. So you can submit your concerns online as well for the Q&A portion of the debate, which involves constituent and candidate discussion directly. Prior to the debate, we need constituents to fill out a Google form, which is collecting Omaha community feedback to ensure debate questions reflect District 2 life experiences, District 2 concerns, and the District 2 voice. So, what does that mean? The Google form essentially is asking questions that affect constituent day-to-day life, whether it be the rental crisis or the inflation of grocery prices, or shoot, if you want a stop sign put up in your neighborhood, that could be something you write about as well. And the data from those forms that you all take the time to fill out will be used to help formulate the final questions that are asked the day of the debate. Furthermore, for youth, considering we've put such an emphasis on the unification of generations, we have offered up an application for the unification of the generations address. Unfortunately, by the time that this is probably seen, applications will be closed, but I only mention that as a statement to show that we as a team are committed to making sure that all members of the community are able to participate in this event and represent themselves.
Where would those who may not be computer proficient be able to obtain a form, or would they just write out, say, hey, I would like to have this addressed or whatever? How would they be able to submit that to you?
That is a great question. Oh, my email is not on here, so I'll actually just write that out really quick.
Mhm.
My email is right here, Omaha's activist. Wow, I can't spell at gmail.com. You can email that link directly if you know how to send an email. Hopefully, that is technologically beginner, and I'll send you all the information you need. I can send flyers directly. There's also a Facebook hub called, as I've said, the Debate for District 2, Who Will Be the Voice for the People, where we post all of our information and direct links to
Mhm.
these Google Forms that you can then just click and fill out that way. And like I said, if you do need links as well and aren't finding them on social media, go ahead and just send me an email at that omahasactivist@gmail.com. And I'm sure, obviously, I can't speak on behalf of my team, but if you wanted to reach out to them on Messenger, on Facebook, or Instagram DM, I'm seeing some nods here from Jada. I don't think that would be bad either because this is a community event. So just talk to us, ask some questions, comment, we'll reply.
I'd like to make a slight suggestion, and I hope this doesn't embarrass you too much, but
Absolutely
we
not.
are working at bridging the two.
Hmm.
Have you guys, young people, because you can get around more, have you thought about taking a flyer and a form that could be, and come back and pick it up from some of the senior citizens who live in uh, public housing, OHA, or even have you thought about visiting with the church, the pastors and bishops of the churches in District 2, and asking them if they would communicate this information to their congregation? Because I think you would get more participation, because I know there are some who would really are probably not going to come to it, but would like to have their questions addressed because they do have concern. And the big thing is they vote. So if you're trying to get, I would highly suggest that. But, it's just a suggestion.
I
And
highly appreciate those suggestions. First and foremost, we have met with multiple different representatives from the community throughout this process, and every meeting, someone brings an idea to the table that we haven't thought of. So a suggestion like that would never embarrass me. What would be embarrassing if come day of we didn't do those things and check off all of our boxes. That would be embarrassing. So no offense taken at all. I'm glad you brought
okay.
that up, and we
Well,
will.
I just think, you have something that, and you're trying to accomplish something, and it is to try to get some unity and bring the groups together. Because, there were some things that have been said publicly and blaming each side, the young and the old. And if we're ever going to come together, we have to bridge it. And we have to understand the importance that our elders played, the role they played in getting us to this point.
Hmm.
And we have to, or we should respect them and give them. And that's one way I think is when we include them into this process, we're not ignoring them and making them feel like, oh, well, you're not too old. Reason why I bring us some of this up, I've been trying to visit with senior citizens, and sometimes they feel so left out, or like, you know, it's like we thinking their brain has stopped, and it hasn't. And some of them have some very good ideas, but I think it's really important what you are doing, because you're showing that it's not just one way for something to be done. It's not just your way or my way or the highway. So I do appreciate what you are putting together. And I think it's important. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to offer out, so that instead of me just saying this, and I'm using your slides in my presentation along with this, is that, it's important. This shows how we can communicate and work together.
Hmm. I
I'll turn it back
agree.
over to you.
No, I agree. I couldn't have said it better. I know and totally understand the apprehension that the older community has exhibited towards youngins trying to, take a crack at planning something this big. And speaking on behalf of myself and not the rest of my team, I certainly did not anticipate how much went into it, which is, calling back to your suggestion earlier, why those sorts of things are so important and why that connection is so vital for progress.
Mhm.
Because one way of doing things has never ever been efficient. So I'm certainly grateful for the time of day I've had to be able to participate in this process because I've learned a lot. But most importantly, the bulk of that learning has been what's already been done that I haven't even been aware of. So you are totally right.
I'd like to say something as well. I really like the idea because I didn't even like think of it, and it's like for me to not, well, not yeah, for me to not think of it is like it's just good to get things from a different perspective.
Mhm.
Some older, sometimes younger. So I really appreciate that
You'll
suggestion.
think, and that's, I'm still where my mind is open. I tell people, I always think that when you cannot learn something,
Mhm.
you're dead. Is basically what some people have put themselves in such a mind frame that it's, they know everything, whether they're young or old, or that no, if it's not this way, it can't. So I have learned from my elders that one of the most important things is to be able to listen.
Mhm.
Listen to it. It doesn't mean you have to do it, but listen. And because in particular, I always love listening to those that are older than myself, is because they can tell me something because they've already been over that, most of them. And then the stories, and that's one thing where we have lost in our culture, is we have not passed on our ancestries, their stories. And so, unfortunately, down the road, that's what has kind or in the past road, it has kind of taken and kept us in this division of learning is because we sometimes forget from where we came because it hasn't always been like this. And now we seem to have an administration that wants to send us back to that. So I will turn it back over to you guys. And was there anything else? Did you have some other slides you would like to present or comments?
I have one more slide that I would like to present, just including our um, sponsors, because none of this could happen without any of them. This has also been circulating around social media because we just put this out yesterday prior to your fact check, which then changed our information. So please bear with us, folks, because it's changing every day. Um, but the following event is being funded. Our event, Debate for District 2, is being funded by the North Omaha Community Partnership. Tamika, their head, actually reached out to us and offered funding assistance, which was kind of like blew us out of the water because none of us were expecting to get any kind of support. And that's opened so many doors. Like she's allowed us to get food for
Mhm.
attendees who attend in person and is helping with childcare so that the day of, people who do attend in person can bring their children and have them watched free of charge. There will be security present. She has been another member of the community who's obviously, older than us and has more access to information, and as you've stated, knows a bit more about what's going on and can then give us those success tactics in order to help further bridge that gap. So big shout out to North Omaha Community Partnership for helping make all of this possible and furthering those constructive criticisms and suggestions that are building this event because we could not do without that. The Assembly of Saints, of course, at 4224 North 24th Street in historic North Omaha is where our event is being hosted, and my I to add, free of charge. Pastor Ballard is an incredible community grassroots
Yes.
organizer and takes spirituality and the connection of that with community organization to a whole new level. And we're so grateful that he's offered his space up to us because it feels very I'm sure anyone else watching can testify who's been there. It feels spiritual when you're there. It feels like
Mhm.
you're a part of something and there's an energy in the air that makes one feel welcomed. So we're really appreciative of that. And then, of course, Untamed, which is Sherman's organization. Um, he is the representative and contact from that grassroots organization. And they are certainly helping us with all of our planning and giving us suggestions as well. So I just wanted to make sure we shouted out all those people. Food has not been decided quite yet as to who will be providing, but we'll make sure to shout them out the day of too.
Mhm.
And Clean Air Nebraska, because this just happened yesterday too, after this flyer was made, is donating an air purifier to our event to encourage healthy habits while we're there. So big shout out to them. They're a new organization in Omaha that's also cross-sectoring into including people who have different abilities or who may be differently abled, which I think is a really cool crossover that I've never seen before. So want to
That
shout that
was
out too.
clean air.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Air Nebraska.
Are you ready for are you willing to accept other sponsors?
Absolutely. The more
All
the
right. So girl,
merrier.
you got this chance I'm throwing out.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want
The-
to, it's okay.
I
Um,
don't want to this is kind of exciting. I'll put a little drop out there. I don't want to say officially that they're sponsoring, but regardless, I want to mention their organization just because they are helping, like we said, with those
that's a
suggestions.
sponsor. That's
Yeah,
support.
okay. Well, Pull
Support.
the Vote, which is being recognized over 19 different states, has reached out offering to help as well. And
And
I about passed out when the CEO, Miss Heather, reached out asking to set up a meeting for that because that was really exciting to me. So that's how we learn.
now, what was their name again?
Pull the Vote.
Okay.
They
Mhm.
are a data analysis organization, bridging and engaging civic and community leaders. So
Okay.
all of the information that they pull from their data analysis goes directly towards senators
Mhm.
or other people who hold office, and can help gain specific information about from specific regions per se, like District 2, and kind of bridge that gap of communication between candidate and constituent, which I think is pretty cool.
It is.
But yeah, that's really about it.
Could you, you had your first one that was big and
Yes.
blue. If you pop that up there for people who might be able to, the blue one, it has,
Yes.
that
Hold
you
on.
started out with, that has a little bit larger of the location. Um,
The image for some reason, it is this slide, but the image for some reason got
yeah, okay.
changed. But I can go to my Instagram really quick and pull it up that way because it's posted there. So if you don't mind bearing with me, so sorry.
No.
Oh, shout out Melissa Wright. Hey, girl. She's awesome. She was at
She's
Preston.
doing a great job
She
being
is.
prettiest. I think that I really like that because you are it's kind of like the bridging aspect of what
Mhm.
you're trying to accomplish. Um and it also again the date is March 5th, 2025, 6 p.m. at the Assembly of Saints, or as a lot of people know it, AOS,
Mhm.
4224 North 24th Street. And so I think this is very important that people get out. This is an opportunity to hear from whoever ends up being on the at being on the ballot. Um, and I will give an update to my update yesterday of who was today. Um, let's see, three more people. Ben Gray brought in additional signatures, so it looks like he will be able to be on the ballot. Michael Lee brought in different additional signatures, and Marcus Jones brought in additional signatures. So it looks like they will be on the ballot. I do believe that these will be verified and validated as the registered voters from District 2. I mean, they only needed, which was kind of sad, they only needed 25 or less, and you can get them in. So that little update jarred a lot of people as to saying, whoa, they talk about sometimes you just got to put it out there up front and make people act. And so it appears at this time, they will be validated signatures and they will be on the ballot. So at that, any closing remarks that you would like to give before we end this?
I just wanted to mention that all of the moderators do come from backgrounds in academia. Bias is really something that we are trying to keep out of our debate. And we want to make sure that all the information that we are getting to constituents is as accurate and updated as possible. And we all, like we said, cannot emphasize enough. If you have a question, reach out,
Mhm.
ask. If you need a resource, if you have an idea or a suggestion of something that we should think about or incorporate or bring to the table, please let us know.
Please, like
Please.
seriously.
Yeah.
Please. Well, what I'm going to do is hopefully get from you both and Jaden um, uh, some information is where you would like to people to contact you at, so that they too can get this information to you, whatever they would like to. You could, that's great. You can put that back up again, because again, I think it's really important. So folks, mark your calendar. And you see what this is doing, maybe because there's so many candidates, look what's happening. This would have never probably happened if we would have had two individuals.
Right.
And I definitely don't believe that any office there should always be at least someone running for that office. No one should be elected continuously just because they were the incumbent. And we will have some on the city council that has no one running. They're running unopposed. And I think there should always be some because, again, I think it's the competition for you to keep your seat makes you be a better representative. And we find that too many times when you get comfortable, you don't do your job, which your job is to represent the people. So, folks, we will end this. And again, please tell Jaden I'm wishing he's best. I know he would have been here because he loves to talk too. And he's been around in the community doing this, as you said, for many years. And so I think he missed this, but tell him we're praying for him in his recovery. And main thing is sometimes you just got to sit back, take care of yourself first. Because if you don't take care of yourself, Jaden, you can't take care of anybody else. So, and these young ladies need you. So, one last thing, the moderators will be
Myself, Olivia Ann Matthews.
Jada Lee.
and Jada Pickens. So,
Yeah.
all right, ladies, have a wonderful evening and thank you so very much. I enjoyed it very much.
You as well. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for your time.
Anytime, anytime.
Thank you.